Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hey, did you see this one? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hey, did you see this one? It's Wednesday night, and it's Caylen's Crazies month because it is his birthday, and he is your host this week. So, without further ado, I will turn it over to the cage himself. How's it going?
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. And yes, it is my birthday month where I take the reins. So strap in and get ready for one hell of a ride as we continue this week with Nightcrawler with your man, Jake Gyllenhaal, Rene Russo. I want to say Riz Ahmed. Might be close, maybe,
Wait
hopefully.
a second.
And then, of course, Bill Paxton.
Wait, Steve,
Bang, bang,
I
bang,
noticed your
bang.
background there, and I did the same thing. I thought we were just supposed to watch the opening scene for X-Men 2 United.
One of
We
the
Stand.
most amazing cinematic achievements to ever grace the silver screen.
Are you
Also,
being
did you know that it
sarcastic?
was called the silver screen because they had to put silver nitrate into the screen itself in order for the light to reflect off of it properly so you could see it? That's why
Yeah.
they call it the silver screen.
I did know that.
But yeah, that first 10 minutes of X2, amazing. But everything that came out of Bryan Singer and about Bryan Singer for many years after that, terrible. Probably the best thing he ever did.
That opening scene got me hyped for a live action version of Dragon Ball that has still yet to come.
You know
Well,
what,
so
Caylen?
nice.
Something tells me that anything that was remotely cool in that era got you hyped for a live action version of Dragon Ball, except for the actual live action version of Dragon Ball.
So
It's pretty
Nightcrawler flips and flops around the room, and then he does this little poofy attack where he poofs in.
He
and
tries
out.
to kill the president
Tries
of
to
the
kill the
United
president.
States of America.
And
we
then,
could get in trouble.
and then credits.
could be
So
trigger
this has
words.
been. Hey, did you see this one for this week? For Caylen and Jason, I'm Caylen.
I give it 3 teleports out of 4.
I'm
I
of
think they're
course-
called BAMFs. Isn't that what they're called? BAMFs? When he
His
teleports.
move?
Yeah, I think it's called a BAMF.
Very joking.
Because that's the sound effect that they would do.
That's the sound it makes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Spider-Man's.
But like, yeah, exactly. It was like how they would write it. It would be like BAMF or whatever. Anyway, that's a fun joke that we did. Let's move on to the
We
actual
psyched you guys
thing.
out. You guys thought we were talking about, we were, but you thought we were going to continue doing it. But nope. We're talking about Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. A
check.
story
A
of
movie about a man
how
who makes
TV
movies.
news gets their footage.
Yeah.
Got to be a special kind of someone to do that job. So let's start things off as we usually do with our introductions to this movie the first time we experienced it. Let's start with Jason. What was your
Excellent.
first experience?
I need to start first this week because for some reason my microphone seems to be kind of low. So if I seem like I'm yelling,
You sound good to me, brother.
yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll
When
just
you're talking.
project my apologies. I had somebody watching the stream a couple weeks ago, and they said that my mic specifically was low. And since I have to also be the producer while we're the producer on the fly, I just want to make sure that I'm being heard. So I've turned you guys down just a tip. I'm gonna tell you about the first time I saw this movie, and it goes all the way back to 2021. So I do this thing on Instagram where I review movies. In between these movies, I watch other movies,
Which is what led to this, by the way.
which is sort of what led to this in the first place. Caylen saw I was doing this, and he was like, "Hey, did you see this one?" No, actually, this podcast in the beginning, you can find artifacts of it. It was called Movie Beard or something like that.
Beard Buddies.
Beard
or
Buddies.
something like
I was directly ripping off the completionist sideshow called Beard Bros. It was Beard Buddies because my old podcast, Blossom Buddies. Anyway, I digress.
And we had beards.
And we have beards.
Oh.
Steve came and ruined it all by only having like stubble and only a beard sometimes. No, but I did actually review this movie for that thing back in 2021, about a year ago, probably to this date now, because as I was looking, I think the next thing that comes up on my feed is the original Halloween shows, but I do have a review. I did review this fully. I also reviewed it again today. So I was going to ask you guys if you wanted me to read my review from a year ago, or if we should just skip that and I'll just tell you my review at the end like normal.
Can we get a quick little...
Is it the same? Is it going to be the same review?
Here's the thing.
We ask that question.
This is why I asked you, because it's basically a carbon copy. Because what I learned...
Okay.
Then
save it to the end.
I will.
If it's the same, yeah.
I meant that kind
I'd like to hear both, though. Or at least like a quick little summary of the first one.
I meant
you just
that...
said it's a carbon copy, which means it's exactly the same.
I could read my review from last year.
I feel like he was exaggerating that.
Yes. I was being a little bit hyperbolic. Or a little bit... what's it called when you ask a question you don't actually want an answer to?
Facetious.
All of that stuff I was being. Anyway.
A rhetorical question about the facetious, hyperbolic answer I'm about to give you.
Yes. Anyway, I essentially, I watched a year ago, and that was my history, but it did stick with me. And what I learned through this experience is that a year between movies, you're probably not going to change how you feel about it too much. 5 years, maybe more. What we've learned through many movies from our childhood is probably not going to like it.
A lot of them suck, yeah.
But there are some hidden gems, like Stay Tuned held up for sure.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, but we were in the middle of a pandemic, so perhaps I will have a different perspective now that everything's changed.
This podcast was born out of the pandemic, so yeah. Anyway, back to you, Paige. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I guess that leads us to you, Steven. What was your first introduction to this movie?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. Well, I watched this movie, I'd say probably about a year after it came out in theaters. This is one of those movies where everybody that I knew was asking me, like, a couple of weeks after it came out, have you seen it? Have you seen it? And I was kind of annoyed. And like, I often, when too many people are telling me that I have to watch something, I immediately put up two middle fingers and walk out of the room and say, I'll never watch this ever because of the pressure you're putting on me, you son of a bitch. And
I know that about you.
At the bandwagon.
When too many people tell me something is good, there's this weird sort of pressure that you have to live up to their expectations of what they want you to think about the movie. Yeah. And if you go and talk to them about it and you did not agree with them, it's then a battle that goes on forever. And I felt the same way about Nope, which came out recently. Like, everybody saw it in theaters, but I was still very like finicky about going to theaters, so I didn't go see it. And I know, Jason, you and I were going to go see it together. Sorry, I didn't turn my sounds off. But I eventually did see it, and I was super happy, and I was like trying to force people to talk to me about it, and they're like, dude, we saw it like 3 months ago. And I was like, but I want to talk about it now, please.
Just a side note on the movies thing, like, I feel like before the pandemic, I would go see, even if my wife didn't want to go, I would just go see whatever I wanted. And now it's even like, do I even want to go to the theater and have risks?
No,
I didn't see Adam.
The answer is no.
Adam, Black Adam either. Even though that's the fucking Rock in a superhero movie, you'd think that I'd be there in a heartbeat. But I just
I'm feeling the same way about this The Menu or whatever this movie that's coming out with like Ralph Fiennes. I'm like, I want to see this movie, but I don't want to go to a movie theater to see this movie, even though this movie seems like it'll be something that I will find very fun.
They're definitely eating people, right?
It's like they're hunting people and eating them. Like, I want to watch this so badly, but I cannot go to see it because it's going to be hard enough for me to convince anybody to go see it with me on top of the fact that movie theaters are cesspools for disease.
Okay, sorry.
Anyway,
Back to it.
So yeah, I watched this movie I think about a year after it came out, once it eventually hit streaming. And yeah, my first time watching it was that I had a huge amount of expectation on me to like it from all of these people that wanted me to.
That's
And I'll save my opinion of the movie until we get into that point. But that was my first time going into it, was that almost everybody in my life had seen it, and almost everybody had told me that I have to see it, to the point that I ignored them for so long that they stopped asking me, and then I watched it. I was like, all right, I'll give it a chance. And I did.
Steve,
And
your
that's the
videos
first
are
time I watched it.
very frozen. Oh, never mind.
No, I think we're good.
It just clicked back in. I could
Was
see
my
it.
audio okay though?
Your audio was
I heard
great.
you.
I could see it on. I could hear you. No problem. We're good.
Okay.
I got the recording this time. I'm recording. I learned a valuable lesson last week because the end of the episode was
No,
cut
I just
off.
get nervous because like sometimes my internet gets floppy around this time of night.
It's good.
Everyone's on.
If it happens.
Yeah, everybody in my building is masturbating at the same time. That really
And they all have tech.
puts a-
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
they
one of
probably
the
all
things.
do have tech savvy in that building. Fuck tech savvy. You know what? I hate that company. They're a subsidiary of Rogers. Also, fuck Rogers. Also, fuck Bell.
Jason.
Whoa, where's all
this?
this negativity coming from?
Also, fuck Telus.
Imagine all of our internets just got shut
Just
off right
like-
now.
These could be our friends someday.
Yeah.
Who? Bell?
Bell and Rogers?
Yeah, good one. John Bell and
To
John Rogers.
piggyback off of what you were saying, though, Steven, I agree with you when there's a lot of people talking something up, hyping something up. Everyone's invested into it, and it does turn me off as well. Like, I'm sure
It's
there's
not
a
that
word
it turns
for
me
it.
off. It's that I feel a little bit too much pressure to enjoy it as much as they did, or to have the same sort of open-mindedness that I would no longer have going in, right? Like if I go to see something and I don't know anything about it, I can observe it as an observer with no outside opinion. But if everybody tells me something's amazing and I go in, even one little like pebble in my shoe throughout the viewing experience will make me be like, you guys are all fucking stupid. You guys, everybody who told me this is good is dumb.
It's called being a victim of overhype. And
Yeah,
that's
and
part
I don't
of,
think
that's part of
I don't
why
necessarily think that happened during this movie, but it is a real thing, and it can happen in many experiences, especially for TV shows and movies.
it's part of why I don't watch trailers, and it's also part of why when I'm reviewing movies, I don't look at the score that like Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes has given it before I formulate my own, because I don't want to see that
Dumb.
and feel like I have to conform to like the way other people feel. And I'm worried, and it happens on this show all the time. I'm worried that hearing even you guys talk about the movie throughout will change ultimately my final review of the movie. This movie just so happens it was a year ago, and today it's same rating, and I don't think you can talk me down. But last week I went from a 4 to a 3.5 to a 3 by just talking it out with you guys.
Well, okay,
And I feel like to what
that's
you're
what
saying
discussion is, though. We're
is when
talking about stuff.
People come
Yeah.
up to you and they're like, "Hey, did you see this? Hey, did you see this movie? It's so good. You got to see it, man. You're a film major, right? You got to see this film." I feel like that's the kind of thing that was happening to you. Trailers, the MCU trailers do that because they put this spark in my brain, and then I just figure the whole movie out from a trailer.
Jason, we get it. You fucking hate trailers.
Okay,
you don't need to
look.
say it every episode.
Every episode is the first episode as far as I'm concerned, because
Okay. Well, maybe then you should.
we
Jason
have-
hates trailers. That should
Maybe
be the name of this show. Jason hates trailers.
until we have like a viewer base of several people who are like, "Stop talking about it," I'm gonna keep talking about it.
Viewers,
Okay,
you
fine.
heard it here first.
It
Let
is
them
fair
know.
though, and I completely understand why you hate them. I think that there are certain movies that watching a trailer is okay, and there are lots of movies that you shouldn't watch trailers.
And
But also,
I
that's
agree with
the people
that.
that cut the trailers. Those are the real criminals.
Yeah. Don't show me the whole fucking superhero movie in a trailer. I don't care if you show me most of a comedy in a trailer.
The thing is like
But
in
they don't make
like
fucking
those
comedies
superhero movies
anymore,
now,
so-
like they even cut full people out of the trailer just so you don't get spoiled. Like, you know, they'll like airbrush somebody out or not digitally add them in beforehand and be like, no one even knew that the Hulk was in this movie
I
because
didn't
we
want to
got
know
rid of him.
Zeus. I didn't want to know Zeus was in Love and Thunder. I didn't want to know that. I wanted to be
I mean, listen, Love and
surprised.
Thunder was
I know.
not his movie.
I liked
Speaking
Love
of
and
train
Thunder.
tracks,
I didn't
liked
hate it either. I didn't love and thunder it though. I just thought it was fine.
I'm gonna go see
Fine and
Wakanda
Thunder.
later this month, and I'm probably not gonna like it, and people are gonna love it because I just find Black Panther boring. I find that whole thing boring. It's too like
I
regular
like
superhero.
Wakanda. I think
I
it's a
like
cool
Wakanda.
place.
Cyber Africa is awesome. The characters in it are all very like we have to rest on our tradition.
Listen, we don't need. Let's not talk
Speaking
about
of train
Wakanda.
tracks.
Let's just All right, Caylen, bring
Caylen,
us
you're
back
the host.
to
You say
reality.
on track when you want to get back on track, or I'll talk about whatever.
He's going on a tangent
I tried to
about.
make it my own and say train tracks instead of on track, but I could do on track too.
No, say whatever. You're the host. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. When's your actual birthday?
November 1st.
Oh, we missed it.
What?
Happy past birthday.
The fuck?
Thank you.
I don't have your birthday on any social media. How am I supposed to know? Yeah,
Well,
I know.
remember last year when he got so drunk during the general? That's
that
what
we had
happened.
to delete it. It was a perfectly fine
Yeah.
episode visually.
Not only
and
did we
audio.
delete it, we deleted it from our memories.
That's what I'm saying. I have it. I could direct our fan to it.
All right. Come on, back on track, fellas. We're talking about the movie Nightcrawler, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, a movie about a twisted man with a twisted past that you know nothing about, but his future seems like it's the most twisted thing of them all. Let's go.
Twisted pervert. Caylen, did you tell us your history? Did I?
No,
Okay.
I'm just letting you guys riff.
Look, man. This is the highlight of my week. Okay. Besides the
Caylen, why don't
weekend.
you tell us about the
This
first
is
time
a
you saw
highlight.
this movie?
Why are you always so angry?
I have a high.
Guys, tracks. Caylen, when's the first time you saw this movie? Tell us.
Right. So, what I was saying earlier, though, is picking back off what you're saying, is when there's a lot of hype around something, it usually turn off might be the wrong word, but it just makes me not want to go out of my way to see it or whatever. Almost like a common denominator. Like if everybody likes something, it could just be like kind of mediocre or whatever, right? Maybe that's an aspect to it. Anyway, that's separate. So this month there's the first movie we did. No, sorry. So this movie and the next movie I have scheduled are ones that I assumed you guys saw. The first one we did, I thought might have been one that you hadn't, which Jason, like you said, is kind of the at the heart of this show. Hey, did you see this one? And then the last one that I have scheduled, I'm kind of hoping is the same. But this one and the next one are ones that I just really loved the performances and wanted to talk to you guys about them. And maybe even some of our viewers haven't seen them. Who knows? My first
It's
introduction
American
to this
Psycho,
was
isn't
also...
it?
Say again?
It's American Psycho, isn't it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's the last one.
If I had
Okay.
all 5 weeks, maybe. But
Fight
since
Club?
we're only doing... No.
Jason, let's not
guess.
guess. Let's just wait.
Okay.
I'll tell you.
I mean, at least we got a really good movie to talk about this week.
That's true. This movie
kinda cool.
fucking rules. Spoilers.
My introduction though was when it first came out on streaming. I don't even know if I've really heard about it before that. Which, Steven, when you were telling me all the accolades and everything that it got, kind of it didn't surprise me, having seen the movie, but I just, for some reason, I guess, live under a rock. But I saw this on Netflix. Shout out to Netflix. If you guys want to hire us for anything, we're here.
Shout out to,
nope.
I take his shout out back. Not shout out to Netflix. They're price gouging us all.
Anyway, that was my first introduction, and then I had to buy the real thing. So now I have it. I don't have to worry if, whoever streaming service goes out of business. I still have it with
If
my
Jacob
very...
Netflix opens up from the heavens is like, I no longer allow Nightcrawler to exist.
It's not on there anymore. It's not on there anymore.
No, it
anyway,
isn't.
which
I had to. Actually, I bought it because I do like the movie, and I was like, "Oh, I'll buy this one. This is a good movie." So
Nice.
I bought it. Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you how I watched it.
Last week, though, I did not buy it.
No.
Let's just put it that way.
So let's, I guess, start talking about the movie. The story of this guy trying to find his purpose in life, something that he can, work towards. And we get some good establishing shots of LA. We have the full moon. And then we see our anti-hero, I guess would be his title, cutting a fence. What's this, you say? And then a security guard confronts him on it. Now, what do you think happened to the security guard?
I have a question, and I have an answer to your question. I'm going to answer your question with a question. I'm going to answer your question with a statement and a question.
Okay.
So
Jesus.
There's a lot of forget.
Jason drank half a bottle of Jack Daniels.
No, I have.
The show tonight.
I just took a sip of beer for the first time. I am amped this week. I am ready to go. I am ready. What I want to know though about Lou is a lot of things happen in this movie off screen. In the opening little bit, he breaks into that fence. Right, he goes into this like stockyard kind of place, and he like sees that the security guard is wearing a nice Rolex. Then he tackles
Was it a Rolex?
him. Well, it was some sort of nice watch.
It's a watch.
He tackles him. Then the next scene, he's going to try to get a job from a foreman who says, "We don't hire thieves." So he
won't hire him, but he's okay to buy the material from him.
Yeah, he knows that he's a thief, and it's maybe slightly implied that he's sold shit to this guy before.
Yeah,
but
so that's
it's not really clear.
What I want you guys to sort of reflect on, which I was reflecting on, is that this movie does a lot of like
show don't tell,
or show implied. I guess, and
the whole movie is implication, almost like so much implication, and it's great. It's so much better because of it. I think that there are so many instances of implication in this movie that strengthen the performances of the people in the scenes, that if they were to even attempt to explain a little bit about Rick's past, I would think less of Rick. I like Rick in his moments because it's almost as though Lou doesn't give a shit about Rick enough to learn about his past. Yep. He's just hired him as an assistant, and he doesn't need to know about what he was doing before. The only thing he wanted to know is if he was a trick.
Yeah. There's a few key moments key moments that I wanted to bring up in this sort of like, what do you think happened? And does he start at petty thief and he realizes he wants to get a real job and start making some money when he just sees a person filming a dead body, which is fucked. The bit with Rick's job interview and his moments with Rick in the car, there's like, I think that is his own story. The three, like, job interview, first time he asked for more money, and the promotion, and then the love story with Nina, which is
it's not a love story, but yeah,
but okay,
it's a transactional.
That's what I put it in air quotes. They have had sex or something, which they don't even really get into. And
that whole thing, off-screen.
That whole thing
romance,
happens off-screen. And going back to what we were talking about last week about like it being necessary to the plot. Last week, the sex and the swear words and all the shit was necessary to the plot. This time around, this is a situation where if this movie was made in the 80s, we would have gotten some gross scene.
Yeah. It would have been a very weird, uncomfortable, rapey sex scene,
which I don't want.
But also the way it's presented in this movie, it's more powerful that they don't show it
because
he mentions it in a conversation, which affects both of them in it, because he's in the middle of essentially like a tirade, and when he says it, she gets like stone face, like fuck you, like what, fuck you, and it's almost weirder because then it's like a horror movie where you don't see the monster, you're imagining what that scenario could have been, but it's probably 10 times worse in your mind than what it actually was. So rather than show it, you don't, and then leave it up to the audience to create something really weird and uncomfortable
Yeah.
because every scene with him is weird and uncomfortable, right? That's what his whole character is.
I thought Rene Russo was a really good foil to his character and kind of was the only one that could really keep him on track. But he always got the upper hand still. So that exchange between them about their exchange, because when he's laying down the law to her at the first time, he's like, I want money. I also want to like date you. I want to have sex with you, not date you specifically. That scene in the fucking weird Mexican restaurant, like this character, this Lou Brooks, is that his name? Lou, yeah. He has no social skills.
Lewis to Rick.
But he is very good at like being a businessman in his weird way, because much like, you know, a shrewd businessman who doesn't have any empathy because he's a sociopath, he's able to cut right past and get to what he wants.
What he's good at is emulating a businessman. He's not a good businessman. He's good at emulating a businessman, which in turn makes him a good businessman, but he's not a good businessman. What he is a good con man.
Yes.
Determined.
He's observed his surroundings and he knows exactly what he needs to do to get what he wants, and that's what he's doing. He's emulating that. He does not have inherent good business sense, because beating up a security guard and stealing his watch is not the act of a good businessman, nor is stealing a bike and pretending like you wore the Tour de Mexico on an $8,000 that's not the act of a good businessman. That's the act of somebody who is observant and knows exactly how to absorb. He's like a fucking alien. Like, he's going around absorbing powers from people and slowly figuring out how to be a person. And like, even when he talks to the security guard at the beginning of the movie, it's like he talks to him like he's reading a script, which at first seems like this is a performance, and then you realize, oh, that's the point, is that he's giving a performance as Jake Gyllenhaal giving a performance to a security guard to trick them into getting close enough that he can beat his ass up and take his security guard. It's probably not a good watch. It's probably a shitty watch that he sold for like $75 and then was able to buy the bike clamp to like to break the lock for the bike. You know, like he's like working his way up from, like, it's like a pauper to riches story or whatever, right? Like, he's slowly making his way up to the point that he has a nice car.
It kind of reminds me of like a Grand Theft Auto main character who starts in the gutter and works their way up to, like, you know, Kingpin. That's what I kept thinking throughout it, because of the way that, you know, he keeps taking one more step up and one more step up. It also helps that it's set in the setting of Grand Theft Auto 5.
That's like, everything around it is very much Grand Theft Auto. Yeah.
Speaking of the setting, like, the LA in this is used very well. It doesn't show a lot of the, like, main shit that you see in Los Angeles. It shows a lot of the, like, you never see the hills, like the suburbs and the hills.
Yeah, it's just showing you the shitty, grimy parts of it. You never see, but you know that it section
of beach. You know, you never see the alleyways. You never see, like, Compton.
You do see the beach at the beginning when he steals the bike, but it's he's only gone
in
there.
Other movies, you never see, like, just a little patch with a tree. You always see a big open picture of a full beach. In this, you just see him. You see an image of him looking out at the ocean. They never show the ocean.
That's them, like, relying on you as the audience to, like, fill in the blanks, right? And he's very insular, right, as a character. So everything is about him, and that's basically his whole life is about him, right? It doesn't really expand beyond him. You don't see characters having their own moments where he's not there, really. He's in every scene, and there's a bubble around him that you're following within the bubble. And you know, there are, like, weird little details that, like, I know how much copper wire can sell for, and I know how much an iron fence can sell for. And the reason
what about
I know
2 manhole covers, the nice thick ones?
I don't know how much those can sell for, but the wire I do. And the reason I know that is because I took sculpting a long time ago, and I took this sculpting class that was pure wire work, and I knew exactly how much money that shit was worth. So when I saw him clipping the fence at the beginning, I was like, why is he clipping a fence when it's already open? Like, he's clearly not trying to get in there. I'm like, is he gonna sell that? And then when the security guard comes up, I'm like, he's definitely selling that. And then when it shows the car, I'm like, oh, he's gonna sell the wire to somebody, and like I knew it immediately, but like that's not something that everybody would immediately know what's
Right.
going on, right? So there
Why
are
I
like
asked about the
weird.
security guard though, if he only beat him up, don't you think there would have been like, warrant or something for him? Like, I
So you
kind
think
of
he
think
killed him? That is what you're saying.
I kind of think he did, but also at the same time, it feels like things that he does progress throughout the movie. Like things get more and more. So like I'm still kind of like, and that's why I wanted to get your guys' opinion on what you thought happened to the security guard, because I'm like,
I don't think he
maybe
killed
he
him.
just roughed him up.
He doesn't show any homicidal tendencies at all during the movie. In fact, as soon as Rick says some shit to him, he just says, I could hurt you. I'm implying that I may hurt you. And he doesn't even directly hurt him. He just uses his like big brain to have the criminal fucking shoot Rick. We'll get to that later probably, but
he does do the thing with the other stringers.
Yeah, he cuts their
Nightcrawlers.
brakes or whatever. I don't know what he does to their car, but he fucks their car up.
I'm assuming he cut the brakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a thing you can do. But also, this movie is not really set in like a logical reality. Like,
No,
I don't think that any news station would pay for somebody going through a murder house and put it on TV.
Both
Like that would
times
not
I
happen.
watched this, I was like, some of the footage, even at the beginning, I've never seen anything that graphic on the news.
Yeah,
And
but you
then
don't live in the States.
It's like what you said, Jason. This is like it's almost like a Grand Theft Auto version of the world, where it's like heightened reality. Like this is not real. Nothing in this is real, and it's not supposed to be taken as
and to what you're
a
saying,
realistic portrayal of the news or of people that exist. It's sort of like a carnival version or a maximalist version of like this type of story.
To what you said, Caylen, I don't live in the States, but I've had American affiliate channels, and I've seen, morning news from the States. I've seen, it's not this American breakfast news magazine seemed to show the worst shit every morning at 7 a.m.
They showed a blurred out face on a body with a shotgun hole in its chest. Like that would never ever happen.
Like they don't show that on CNN
news channel.
You know what I mean? Like they definitely wouldn't show it during the morning news.
Well, like the whole concept of the news channel is that they're supposed to be the shittiest channel in Los Angeles or whatever, right? And he's leveraging that because he's getting them the best footage,
right,
so that he can get himself up to the highest point that he can, and then jump off from that to probably like a bigger platform, right? And to create his company, his fleet of trucks.
So, it is nice to see the growth, like when so as you mentioned, he steals a bike, and I liked that scene. Like he was speaking with authority and with facts, true or not, but the way he was pitching it to the pawn dealer, is 2,000 seems like a lot of money for a bike, but maybe some bikes are $2,000.
Well,
no,
a low end, man.
Yeah,
low end.
Really?
I bet you that bike was actually worth probably actually $5,000 to $8,000.
My father-in-law went to Germany a couple years ago and bought a bike and brought it back because it's so well made, and he paid like $7,500 for it or something ridiculous.
Snap.
So
and now it's collecting dust in the shed. And he's
no,
like,
he wears it, or he drives it around all the time. He wears it. He drives it all the time, but like you can't just lock it up and go inside. You know what I mean? It's the kind of thing where you go out for your bike ride,
take it apart and put it into a suitcase, and
you use it,
sell every piece for $500.
You use it to bike from here to Ottawa as like a big, voyage. You don't just go to the grocery store on it, even though I think he does.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I had a. Oops, go ahead.
No, if you're still talking, I want to go back to the gore thing after you talk about a friend.
The gore thing? Oh, the gore thing. Oh, okay. No, I was just going to talk more about the bike stuff, where it's like you see him throughout the movie. He probably researched how much that bike is actually worth before he went into that store. But we also, throughout these interactions, you learn that he's a liar right out of the gate, right? He lies about everything, which means that everything that he says for the rest of the movie cannot be taken as truth.
Right.
There's not a single moment in this entire movie where you can trust this character as telling the truth.
When he's telling Nina what he wants, I think that's one of
that's
the
okay. So yeah, but that's because he's being direct and he's saying exactly what he wants. That's different than him confiding in somebody or telling somebody else what they need or what they should ask of him. Mm-hmm. He's lying the whole movie. You're right,
he
though.
He even fucks up with a lie later in the movie when Rick's like, how much are we getting paid for this? And he goes, $50,000. And then Rick's like, I want half. And then he's kind of like, fuck.
I should have told him less. Yeah,
I should have told him way less, whether that was true.
Although his raise from like, what was it, $25, $30 to $75,
$30 to $70 a night. And he's like, I could have gotten more, right?
I thought he
definitely could have gotten more.
President, $75
it's been many years. I thought he was gonna say like 75,000 a year or something, you know. But he was talking about dollars per night. Like this guy's making like 10 G's off of videos.
As soon as my boss rolls up in a red Dodge Charger, I'm like, you're paying me $200 a night. You're paying me like more than minimum wage at least. To go back a little bit, I just wanted to, while we were on the subject of like the goriness of this movie for a minute, and this, like California, this movie was another one I saw come out. And I thought it was going to be more of a gore porn kind of a thing where it wasn't just about this guy's journey from like the sewer to like having his own fleet of stringers, which stringers, if you don't know, they're the people that go and they're basically paparazzi for car crashes and for crime scene photographers. I thought it was going to be about this creepy weirdo who, you know the movie Crash, where they can only get off if they're mid-car crash? I thought it was going to be some fucked up thing where he could only like get off if he saw the goriest shit. You know what I mean? I watched this movie for the first time, and I was like, oh, that was just like not nice, but that was like just a well-acted crime thriller drama.
Yeah, it's like Jake Gyllenhaal, the TV. It's like Jake Gyllenhaal basically telling us all he's an amazing actor.
He's an amazing
fucking hour and a half. Yeah.
His ability to just like go dead-eyed and not blink for like a full scene, or like blink like once or twice in like a.
But also like what I'm saying about him being an alien, like when he needs to learn information, he goes into this mode where he goes blank and his eyes go super wide, and he's literally just listening, and like he does it. When he goes to that first scene and he trips on the stretcher and everyone's like, get the fuck out of here, and he like stands up and he's like, and they're telling him what he can and can't do, and he's like, okay, and then he like goes and follows the other guy, and he does the same thing. He's like just following the guy, listening to him on the phone, even when he's in Nina's office and she's like describing what they need and stuff. He's like just looking at what she's writing, and like he's literally like a sponge man. Like he goes into this mode where he looks and acts like an alien for a bit, and he's just like absorbing information, and it's disturbing, but it's also like one of the craziest acting choices where I'm like, did they write this or did he come up with this?
He puts on a voice too when he's being like just a normal person, but then when he's like when he goes into that like intensity, he's very like assertive and very like gets what he wants, right? And that's part of it. He probably learned that from just being around, you know, assertive types. I really like when he's first learning the codes for like the police codes. Like we have a 721. When he's just reading them and writing them down, he goes into that sort of wide-eyed mode as well. That's probably the most prime example of it. There's a scene later where he's learning how to like categorize his videos, and so he's sort of doing it there too. But that also plays as sort of a montage of time passing from him.
He's also like coming up with these titles for things, and they're like super literal.
They're
like,
super
I'm pretty sure the titles are just what the news.
I think that's probably true. Yeah, but they're at first they're like it's like weirdly literal stuff, right? And like I don't know, man. There's something about it that's so off-putting. I mean, when I say there's something about it, it's like obviously like everything.
I wrote
the
a
lighting,
couple down.
The makeup, everything. He's gaunt as fuck. Like it's all off-putting.
The
for a reason.
The way he transforms into this character, like the like just it's amazing what your I'm assuming he had like a dietitian or something help him achieve the physicality.
Looking very gaunt.
Yeah. They're like, we're putting you on a juice cleanse forever.
You get juice for
you're done
3 months. I wrote down a couple of the and now I am noticing an evolution between the 3 that I wrote down, because the first one that I wrote was drunk mom kills biker, and then toddler stabbed, but then nursing home nightmare.
Yeah, that's when it gets to be like, this sounds like it's headline news kind of thing, right?
And we see that with everything, though. We see that with his skill with filming a scene, right? Like at the beginning, he's all in the way, in their face, does not like know the etiquette and protocol to everything, to him setting up a shot to have it framed a certain way, right?
They don't really show it, but it's clear that he constantly says it throughout the movie. I'm a very fast learner. I learn everything online, and he probably went to like howtoframeashot.com or something and like learned exactly how shots should be framed and like where the light should be and how you should position the camera. And he, you see that moment where he breaks into the house after the shootout, and he moves the photographs for the bullet holes.
More emotional.
And well, he's not. I think that he saw that as an opportunity, yes, but he's not thinking more emotional. What he's thinking is like, this will equal more money, like in his brain, right? Money shot, and like that's kind of the first moment that you see this lack of morality outside of him beating up the security guard, which is like still kind of never answered. You're like, okay, so whatever happened to that security guard, and why was he like, is that what he did? Like, if he would go steal a bunch of metal and then just beat up a security guard and get away, like, gotta go sell my metal. But that's the first sort of example of him showing a lack of morality in terms of being a videographer, right? Like, he is now willing to do stuff that he wouldn't otherwise be willing to do. And I think that the evolution of his character throughout the movie is like, the humanity is like pulled further and further back, right? How far is he willing to go? You see him pull the guy not out of the car, but like beyond the car into the car light, so that he's being lit, and then it goes back to his camera and is moving the camera up beyond his own reach, where you're like, okay, so this guy he's disconnected, right? Like, he's completely disconnected from what's happening around him, and all that he's thinking about is the product that is going to be made afterwards.
It's because he lacks empathy, because this man is a psychopath.
Well, the thing is that I don't believe that he lacks empathy entirely, which is like this is the point that I want to try and make, is that like, he in the moment is a robot, or he becomes, like I said, an alien. Like, he's just there. He's holding the camera and he's pointing at things, and the things he's seeing through the viewfinder are not real until later. I think that the evidence, to me at least, is once he goes through the house, films the entire murder scene, goes back to the car, they get away, and then he uploads it to the computer and starts to scrub through it. He has this moment of where he's like,
oh, he gets that rush.
But it's like, it looks like it could be a rush of him being excited that he got this footage, or him actually for the first time seeing the images that he captured. Like, he was not seeing them as images while he was capturing them. He was capturing them. It's like playing It's like playing Pokemon Snap. You're taking pictures of Pokemon, and then at the end it shows you all the pictures, and you're like, whoa, I did get a good sick snap of Pikachu. Or whatever, right? Like, that is the moment to me where I'm like, he does have emotions, and he can feel emotions, and he does empathize with people to a degree. But there's also a moment in the movie where he says to Rick, have you ever thought about the fact that it isn't that I don't understand people, it's that I just don't like people? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so that's his whole thing, is that like, he's able to disassociate when he's in the moment, but he does still feel. He's not a complete and utter sociopath.
I don't know when
Anyway,
he's watching TV, he's watching some old movie. He's watching a shitty old movie, and they make like the dumbest 1950s joke ever. The way he laughs is just he laughs so hard at the stupidest thing that I'm like, this guy has no social skills. Like he has no social awareness. I guess that ties into him just being fully absorbed with himself as well. He does exhibit that. He has no friends.
There's also like a weird
throughout
with
the
that
whole
exact
movie.
example.
Anybody that tries to like get close to him, he slams the door in their face. Even the woman he likes, Rene Russo's character Nina, purely transactional. Just wants to do the sexy times for footage of dead bodies. You know.
The part that you're referring to about the old movie, I clocked that as well as something that I was like, oh, this is kind of concerning to me. Is that he watches it? It's like I don't even know what the movie is. It's probably well known amongst certain crowds.
Yeah, it's
but
just
it's like
an
a
old
knight's
movie
head
with
gets
like,
knocked off, and then the guy like peeks out
very
from
cartoony.
inside the knight's armor, and then goes oh, and then goes back down. And he's watching it, and he's ironing, which he does every day, and he turns away from the TV, and he doesn't do anything for a couple of seconds, and then he looks back and starts laughing so
hysterically.
And
on
I'm
top
like,
of,
oh god, it's like he realized it was funny, he recognized it was funny, he turned away from it, thought about it, and thought about something else that made it more funny to him than what it actually was, and then laughed about it. And then you're like, what did he think in his head that made it more funny than when he saw it initially? Most people's reaction when they see something funny is to laugh immediately, not to pause for a few seconds and then be like, you know, like.
On top of all that,
scary.
The only real friend I could see that he had was his plant, which was a weed, which was a shitty flower that he probably got from the alleyway. And I thought, the first time I watched it, I thought it was meant to show the passage of time, but this plant like hardly grows. If it was meant to show,
it was to make him seem a little less,
be a little bit more.
It was
human.
To show that he cared about
something.
Yeah.
Obviously, but I as this thing in the movie, I thought that they were trying to make it show the passage of time a little bit, but I don't know. This plant, there's something up with this plant, man. Maybe it's from his home planet.
Yeah.
It looked like a lupin, but like, do lupins grow in fucking...
it's his wife. He's growing his crazy wife who's going to come out and be like, Nightcrawler 2.
The sequel to this, I wrote in my original review that I would watch a sequel to this just because I'm interested to see what happens next, even though it's kind of the complete story. Maybe John Carpenter
another up-and-comer tries to challenge his business.
No, this is the precursor to They Live.
Yeah.
And then Roddy Piper comes in and kills him.
John Carpenter gets his hands on this IP and just fucking makes Nightcrawler 2 this time. He gets revenge.
Nightcrawler's in it. And the Nightcrawler from the X-Men
Alan Cummings shows up as Nightcrawler, and it becomes part of the MCU for some reason. Jake Gyllenhaal's already Mysterio, so he was Mysterio the whole time.
I feel like if they were to do any kind of extended version of the story, it would be that he ended up like Bill Paxton. Like he would have got betrayed by someone and ended up
next
dead.
Psycho.
Yeah. I mean, like a beautiful allegory. I mean, yeah, like a nice ending to this story would have been him having an extremely tragic downfall, right? Like the movie makes you not necessarily root for, but like be on the side of this guy because you're with him the whole time. You're not invested in any other character because you're not given the time to be invested in any of the other characters. You only see everybody else from his perspective.
Yeah.
You never see them talking to anybody else. And when you do, it'll be him outside of a room while they're in a soundproof room talking to each other, and then they come out and talk to him, right? Like,
which is cool. I think this was not a vessel. What's it called? When a movie's made for somebody. Not a vessel. Why can't I think of the word? Anyway, this movie was made to show off somebody's acting chops. And Jake Gyllenhaal, when this movie came out, was perfect. I think Joaquin Phoenix would have been a good choice for this. I also think that somebody like that that has serious acting chops. I don't think anybody that doesn't have serious acting chops could have pulled this off and have it be so hit so hard, because you could easily
this
have
is the kind of movie that I don't even
like
like to do the what if, because it's like he did such a good job that it's like what is even the point of doing the what if for this? You know, like it's so good.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that this movie might have specifically been made for Jake Gyllenhaal, or he was in mind.
I think you mean like the muse, like Jake Gyllenhaal was the muse of this movie, like the
word that's popping into my head is vessel. But it's
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it at the moment either. When I think of it, I'll yell it out.
Yeah.
Was it just me though, or did you guys kind of feel
marshmallow?
Did you guys feel like the style and like editing and production of the movie kind of progressed as his? Like, you know, he was upgrading his gear, he was upgrading his skill. Like, it kind of felt like the movie itself was kind of upgrading as well.
I never thought of that. I wouldn't say no, because it does sort of, yeah. Like it kind of
naturally does.
I don't feel like I don't think that the camera angles get better, but I feel like earlier on in the movie they do linger more on solo shots and long shots, and then later it becomes more aggressively sort of like cut a little bit for sure, which I didn't even really consider as like, it's like how fast his life is moving, the cuts become more apparent. Yeah, that's a good catch, man. I didn't even think about that. I do want to talk about the music a little bit if you guys want to indulge for a couple minutes, but
I'll indulge you
quickly. I'll just say off the top, there was no licensed music. It was good background music, but when you hit the credits and there was no, like, they didn't have I felt like the music was sort of secondary, and the music felt a lot like a film noir, almost like a little bit jazzier film noir. Almost, you know, or like an LA Confidential kind of, like, it's very LA, like, quiet, backgroundy kind of music. Does that make sense?
The music, so I had an issue with the music, and then I started going through it, and I was like, I understand what they're doing with the music, but I don't like it. So
what was it you didn't like?
Okay, so the music is very sort of like traditional Hollywood music, where they show him and it's like ding 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 ding, and like it's showing him, and like there's this sort of trilly, almost like an everyman sort of music that plays in every Hollywood movie. And then there were moments where it's like tonal and stuff, but I noticed that there was way more of the everyman music, like the traditional sort of like when someone's walking down the street, there's like music that's like ding 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 ding, like it's just playing to have them walk down the street. And then I looked up the artist, and most of his career, that's what his entire scores have been. Like it's that sort of traditional Hollywood music. But like partially through the movie, I started to realize that like it's done on purpose. This movie with the star, they could have gotten somebody to make, like, they could have got like a Trent Reznor to do like they could have made it like grimy and gross and scary, which is what you kind of want from this movie. That's the whole tale. It's a grimy, gross, scary story. But I think that they purposefully went for a traditional style Hollywood score because they wanted us to be feeling what he was feeling, because you're with him the entire time, right? Mm-hmm. So when there's that traditional sort of like I'm walking down the street music after just being released from the police precinct, having been completely, shed all suspicion, that music that's playing, it's uplifting, triumphant, and it's supposed to be what he's fucking feeling as he's walking to his car. Like, we're supposed to be feeling what he's feeling, and we do, because the music is there to accompany it. Even though it should have been like some Joker like long, violent, like a razor blade drawn across a cello or some shit, because he's insane. But Instead, we get this sort of like uplifting, like Truman Show style music, and you're like, what the fuck? And like that, they kept doing that. They did that.
Vehicle.
The scene.
Vehicle.
The scene where he pulls the guy.
Yeah. Cool.
Sorry.
Where he pulls the guy into the light. That like the horrible accident where he pulls the guy into the light. If you listen to the music in that scene, it's completely like Truman's Show style music, like. Ding, 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 ding.
It was very uplifting, like
yeah, it's like uplifting music, and it's because he's like, I'm figuring out a way to make
mischievous
this. Yeah,
music.
Exactly. It's like I'm figuring out a way to make this scene
Absolutely.
more valuable to me, and I'll make more money off of this. And like that's the music that's playing, even though what you're seeing is horrific. The music that's playing goes completely against that.
I don't even think he does it for the money, though. Like, I mean, money is a byproduct.
Listen, Caylen, that's besides the point. That what I'm talking about is what they're doing is they're pairing music that is completely against the grain to what you're seeing visually.
I think Caylen hit it on the head at the very top of the program tonight by saying that he's an anti-hero. And we're meant to be rooting for him, even though everything he's doing is despicable. I think it's fucking disgusting that he shows up to a car crash before the EMTs, and he's just moving bodies around. Like, that's so messed up that if the police found out he did that, he would go to jail for fucking with a crime scene.
Tampering, yeah.
I can't believe he got away with going into that
Why
house.
doesn't he wear gloves?
Oh, also that.
When he's just have a box
when he's
of
running
rubber
out of the
gloves.
mansion, he's touching everything. He's touching everything. And I'm like, bro, put some gloves on and stop.
Yeah.
I yelled at my screen. I was like, stop touching everything.
But the other thing, though, is that, like, he has the video evidence. He gives it to them. And he's like, yeah, I was in there. And so, like, if they do find his fingerprints, they'll be like, it's the fucking guy. That guy who was in there that gave us all this video evidence.
Yeah.
So it's like he's already covered that base most of the time. So he except if they were to find his fingerprints on that guy's shoes or whatever from, I guess he could make something else up though. He'd be like, I was trying to check if he was still alive and I touched him on his shoe. You know, like he has this weird sort of like unlimited alibi. He's like, yeah, I was there.
The fact that he just said that he went into the house to like he heard gunshots and ran in, but he's also a crime scene photographer and a well-known one by this point. Yeah. That police officer, she was like,
you're lying.
I have
to me.
you. Like, all I need one little piece of evidence, and you're fucking going to prison for 10 years, and then we start investigating everything you've been doing, because it's. I was thinking, so when I watched Breaking Bad, I'm like, how come nobody's ever done this? And what if somebody's doing this right now? But then you have to really think about the logistics of how insane that basement underneath the laundromat meth lab is. Nobody's going to put the capital into that. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to do this. Somebody could.
No, I think that's like one of the most poignant parts of the movie is that
Nobody's
it's so
gonna
uncomfortable.
Do this shit.
Yeah, that while you're watching it, you're like, who the fuck is this insane man? Like, I would know it. Like, if you see a car on fire, your instinct is not to run up to the car on fire,
and
especially
start filming
if the EMTs have already
with like really good framing, so it looks good on tape.
So that sorry, Caylen. If the EMTs have already arrived and pulled the person out of the car, your instinct is to run up and film the person who's bleeding out of their mouth. Is that what you just said?
I didn't hear that part. I would run up
to like help. You'd maybe do something.
Not talking about help. He has no interest in helping.
He has never helped a person.
The difference between you and him is that you are running up to help. He is running up to film it for profit.
I've seen this movie, but I need to claim ignorance on one thing that I'm not fully sure of. When he tells Rick that somebody was still alive in the house, was somebody still alive? Like,
yeah, the man.
He was like gasping for.
He was like.
I feel like I noticed that the first time around, but the second time around, I like got.
I didn't notice
part, and then he says it.
He was like slightly moving, and he was like making noise.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like. Help
or
him.
Did he watched him die, right? That's the
I don't know if he watched him die, but he filmed and then he cut that out of the video.
Oh, that was one of the things he cut out.
Yeah.
Because he makes some very select edits. He cuts out.
Although, how could they not notice that, right? Like it all like if you're like he gives the cops the footage and I feel like if I saw what he gave in, like you'd see what he's cutting out, right? But like you could almost see it being continuous. It's like, oh no, like there's no way he filmed, he stopped, he filmed again, he stopped. You know what I mean? Like
I don't think that he gave them a cut up.
Yeah.
He probably gave them him entering the house to just before he saw that guy,
right,
and then gave them that chunk of like continuous footage, and then just said, "I stopped filming there and ran," kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, but and the news outlet wouldn't give the footage up, but then they showed it. So I think that this is a little bit explained earlier in the movie, that he's gotten so good because that first time he gives tape, it's just him being like,
I have a
setting up like the shot,
yeah,
you know. But he's like fast forward past that.
Yeah, that gave me a little chuckle for sure.
That was a joke. That was meant to be funny. Unfortunately,
yeah, this movie is weirdly sort of like a borderline dark comedy,
almost
at
like
points,
a black
where
comedy.
There's like this weird moments where you're like, this is actually very funny. Like what's happening right now is very funny. Like the whole interview process is extremely funny if you like
he
sit
runs
down
a
and watch it a few times.
News video business that he only just sold one video of.
Yeah,
and he'll say a bunch
I mean, he technically has had a 100% success rate in terms of selling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he'll say a bunch of things, like especially when he's listing his demands, and then without skipping a beat, he'll say, and also what I would also like is, and then say a whole bunch more things. And I thought those played as comedy for me, even though he's being very menacing about it. I like to see, almost like it's a little bit of a on the spectrum autism sort of feel to his actions some of the time. I felt like a little bit. What was that face?
What face?
Oh, I thought you gave a face for me saying autism.
It was my stinky face. Like, get out of here with that shit. He's an alien, all right? He's not autistic. An alien.
But, you know, Sheldon from Big Bang definitely did not have Asperger's. He was just like that.
No, yeah. I mean, you're not entirely wrong, but we don't need to.
I know. I wasn't gonna go down. I wasn't gonna theory corner down that route. I just.
They're gonna say I'm not gonna go with Down syndrome.
No, God, Jesus, you said that, okay? But my point is the way that he delivers his demands to Nina is a little bit like he doesn't know how to talk to humans because he doesn't have that in his head. He doesn't.
But the thing is that every single thing that he says throughout the entire movie makes complete sense and sounds as though he's thought it out from beginning to end. Like he's practiced every single speech in the mirror before he arrived in that conversation.
Well, it seems
and
like he
even
never
though
sleeps.
he's not sure he needs to actually say the things he's going to say in the moment, when he finds the moment to say them, he says them from beginning to end. And he'll even stop you before you can even start talking and say, I'm not done yet. And then as you're about to try and speak, he'll cut you off and continue speaking. And it's super intimidating. It's super creepy. And it's so good. Like, it's so good. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about the interview process because
with Rick?
Yes, with Rick. Because Rick is the second best performance in this movie, in my opinion. I think he is so believable. Just as much as Jake Gyllenhaal is like disappeared into his performance, this guy as well. Like I've only seen him in, a handful of other movies. Star Wars. He's a Star Wars man.
He's the opposite of Venom. He's kind of the opposite
he's
of
in Venom, yeah. But in this movie, he's like he portrays that sort of like, I want to say Venice
like
Beach slum kid.
Yeah, he's very aloof. He doesn't want to
well.
work. He jumps from job to job. He's probably
But it's almost like
22.
Many people who
max.
are in that situation like aren't able to hold down a job because they can't get with it in terms of like motivation, or their head isn't there, or they don't have the right
I clocked him as a
partner to work
druggie.
with.
I don't know if that matters, but I kind of got the vibe that he just needed this money so he could do drugs.
Well, I'm sure we've all known people in our lives who have a very difficult time holding down a job, not because they're stupid or
No, because
unwilling.
they just
It's
refuse to
just that
fucking
they,
work. I get it.
or it's like that they just can't get into the work that they've been
I don't
provided
even think it's
with.
that. It's just not finding work that suits them.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
No, but
Yeah.
I know people that like they don't work because, or they won't work for a long period of time because they absolutely hate work and just want the path of least resistance. I can identify with that myself because even though I have like a pretty good job, I could easily apply myself and be career oriented and have a way better job, you know, but I just choose to not. I choose to work to work to live, not live to work kind of thing. So I just make exactly enough money as I need and don't really. That's why I was a cook for so long. And that's why I'm in IT at the like entry level, because I don't have any desire to like move beyond that realm. I just want
once
And
this
I'm
then we
too
can put all our-
stupid to do anything that other than what I do, which is draw pictures for a living.
Yeah, but you're extremely
I'm
good
a
at it. So
fucking-
like it seems like
I know.
you did different jobs for your life and then you finally found your career, and that's how I honestly I would love to be a professional podcaster person, like in this realm professionally. And I don't mean like I hope this podcast makes us $1 million. Of course I do. I mean, I would love to work on an already established podcast in some sort of engineering role, or like go to school for that. Well, that's what I'm trying to do.
It's probably a school thing now. I don't think
It
was
absolutely
when
is a
we
school
were
thing
younger.
now. I'm cutting my teeth by doing podcasts with my friends
Yeah.
for years and years, and I have
In like 10 years, Jason's going to be teaching some sort of professorial podcasting unit.
And I'll make like
Ryerson
40K
University.
a year, and I'll
Yeah.
have the summers off. And
And
that
no, your
goes-
summers will be you doing your IT job.
yeah. Freelance. Hopefully, I'd love to do a freelance
I think,
thing.
yeah, I think the point is that like we all know people that live within their means, live beyond their means, and there are those who are undeserving who are just like all powerful. But I completely relate to this kid going into a diner and talking to some stranger and him grilling you as though he's some sort of like CEO of a $1 billion company, even though he's just some greasy fucking Nightcrawler.
Can I tell you something though that I can relate to? I had a meeting. So in between cooking and IT, when I was working at the escape room with you, Steve, right before I got the job at the escape room, I was exploring becoming a filmmaker or becoming some sort of something in that realm, right? And I actually went to a weird coffee shop and met with this man and this woman who had a production company. And their production company was undefined. The only thing I actually did for them, I did two things for them. I held a camera while they
I
walked.
suckied and I fuckied.
I held the camera while they walked around like this paint shop, and they were sort of doing like a mini documentary about this man who like ran the paint shop, but also it was an exchange. It was like almost like a commercial. It was very unclear. I was just filming. Not unlike Rick. Then this guy, I helped him one summer, like shortly after that. I helped him paint this mural, but I'm not a painter. I was basically just like doing the background color, and it was for hockey players. So I was painting like little Maple Leafs while he did this like very good art, like very realistic looking Wayne Gretzky and Rocket Richard fucking paintings. And it wasn't until I was in the back of this dude's van, and this isn't where that's going, smoking like half a roach and just like drinking a little bit of whiskey, that I was like, oh, this dude's a fucking grifter. He just gets these grants to do these weird things to like get to the next thing that he's going to do. After I stopped working for him, because I was like, I made like $100. We had the like grand reveal of the painting. He gave me a check for $100.
A check?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And was like, well, let's see what happens next time. But we'd go have like dinner and stuff, and he'd be like, he hired this next person after me, and we were sitting there at dinner one time, and he was like, so what are you guys going to do when this company goes huge? And I was a realist, so I'm like, I don't know, like, fucking buy a new pair of shoes. You know, like, just being... And they were like, we're going to take over the city. This dude, not only did he not take over the city, but he did one more mural the following summer, and I haven't seen him on social media. He just disappeared. The other person I was with, I barely remember their face.
He got enough to go down south.
Maybe he hit it big. Maybe he got a grant and just skedaddled. He would also constantly bring up the fact that in the movie RoboCop, the remake from like 2012, he was one of the armed guards in that remake because that was filmed here. So he did a lot of extra work as well.
Okay, yeah. No,
So,
I've met people like this.
I was actually, yeah. Well,
I also worked in the film industry for a bit.
You worked in the film industry. You worked in the escape room industry.
Dreamers.
A lot of people that just jump from one thing to the next, and I feel like.
But I also, for a brief time, worked in the actual film industry where you would meet people that were like, you know, like some guy. There was this guy. I can't remember his name. Actually, I do remember his name, but I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to be rude. But he had written this slightly successful series of vampire novels, and this was way after Twilight had come out and done huge, but it was still while the Twilight movies were happening, like they were still coming out or whatever. And so he was like, and now I'm gonna make mine into a movie. And so he like got us all to come help him out, and he paid us all. And he got like wire work and everything, and his was more like Blade meets Twilight, where like at least the vampires were like ding 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 ding, like pretty cool or whatever. But when I showed up and I didn't realize that he decided that he was going to star in the movies, and I was like, oh no,
that's the reddest
and this guy was
that's the reddest flag you could find.
Yeah, but I didn't know this, so like I got there and I was like, oh shit, I thought that. Okay, you're not the director? He's like, no, I'm starring in it. I'm like, okay, cool. Oh shit. And so I still have this footage on my computer of him like flying towards the camera on wire work, like going head over heels, and like I was doing camera pulling, so like focus pulling, which is basically the camera moves back and the cinematographer is working the camera, but then I'm in control of the zoom, like to make sure everything racks into focus. And yeah,
I wanted to add on.
You're just like, this isn't going anywhere.
I wanted to add on to the interview where he does an interesting thing where when he meets Nina in like the news the newsroom the first time, he introduces himself as Lou and kind of plays like a non-threatening kind of attitude or whatever. When he's interviewing Rick, he's more authoritative, introduces himself as Louis Bloom. Rick's like, oh, hey, Lou. He's like, Louis. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like it's differentiating the dynamic between the two.
That's absolutely, yeah. He feels like he, at that point, before he has any leverage, he's fully below the studio executives, the studio, the head of the channel person. But he finds this street urchin, and he's finally got somebody to boss around a little bit and pay $30 a night, even though he's making a few $1,000s a night. But the thing is that I noticed is once he has one bad night and Nina's on his ass, shit rolls downhill, brother.
No, so they made a bargain. And I'm going to have to assume that she upheld her end of the bargain. And then when he didn't deliver, her voice, like, that was actually one of my favorite scenes. Her voice breaks when she is, like, pissed at him for not delivering on his promise. And then he gets pissed off at himself for not delivering on his promise, right? He has that little mental breakdown with the mirror.
Up, But he's also showing an animalistic emotion, which is regret, which is like a dog can show regret, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if a dog snags food off a table and you yell at the dog, you can see regret in the dog's face. But does a dog feel remorse? Is the dog going to think about that 3 weeks from now? Probably not.
Do you know what movie I kept thinking of while watching this? I kept thinking of Taxi Driver, weirdly.
Yeah, and American Psycho. It's
American
all about
Psycho a little bit
the
too.
performances of the person within the movie.
Taxi Driver is a little bit smaller scale, but Travis Bickle, that's his name, right? Is the same lack of social skills, I feel like, and it's got the same sort of crescendo, like it's the same sort of build up. It's different, obviously, because Lou wants to make something of himself, and Travis is
I think you could probably toss the three of those, like Patrick Bateman, Lou Bloom, and
Travis Bickle, right?
Travis Bickle, I think that's the name. I haven't seen Taxi Driver in a million years, but
he just like covets this prostitute.
Like that's but I think that like the idea, you could take the three of those characters and trace their sort of like growth and downfall in different ways, but you could see the growth being very similar at the base of it, right?
Yeah, Travis Bickle. Yeah.
And like, you look at like Patrick Bateman, and it's almost as though Lou Bloom, if he was to like go on a trajectory at a younger age upwards, like you could see him landing a Wall Street type position, or like somebody like him, Lou Bloom, in the 80s in the right circumstances could become something like Patrick Bateman.
Have you ever seen that interview? I think it was when
with a vampire?
Nope. It's where what's his face? Who's Patrick Bateman again? His name's escaping me. I feel dumb.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale's doing that his GQ the things that I've been in video, and after he made that movie, he actually his most famous roles, and he has this little anecdote about going to Wall Street and them all being like, "Hey man, you're the best. You're awesome, man. You're great." And he's like, "You're kidding, right?" And they're like, "No." And he's like, "Ooh, what have I done?"
For his role,
as Patrick Bateman.
Well, yeah, it's the irony of like broy actual Wall Street people loving the character of Patrick Bateman and not understing what the movie's about. It
happens with like broy white dudes and incel culture, like in parallel. People not really understanding irony or subtext or context, and then you have somebody taking a movie like Scarface literally and making their whole identity, where Scarface is this is how you don't immigrate to a new country. It's basically the step for step
cautionary tale.
The cautionary tale of how not emigrate to a new country.
Well, like the way I got introduced to American Psycho was from a bunch of like broy white heterosexual guys, and I watched it and I was like, I think this movie is about gay. This is gay.
Are these guys gonna kill me?
This movie's about gay.
Are these guys gonna kill me? And then like
then I bought the movie and I watched it, and I listened to the audio commentary with the director, who's a woman, and the writer, like one of the primary rewrite writers, who is also a woman. And the whole time they're just like, the amount of like white men who watch this movie and are like, "I'm Patrick Bateman," and they're like, "So wait, you're a closeted fag who like can't deal with your own sexuality, so you just murder all women around you until there's only men left so that you can fuck a dude in his ass? You stupid idiot." And like that's basically like that movie in a nutshell. It doesn't have anything to do with like hatred of women. It has to do with like hatred of your own self and not being able to like deal with your shit.
I feel like Palanchuk writes a lot like that for Fight Club, and Choke is another one. Choke doesn't get enough. People don't talk about Choke, but Choke is a fucking really weird, like hero complex, weird story.
Man, if you want to talk about Palahniuk books, man, his books are whack. Have you Survivor? Oh my god!
No, I want to. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get I want to actually read Fight Club because I know it ends differently. I know the book Choke is different.
Rant is really good too.
Rant
is written like World War Z, where it's all like interviews and diary excerpts and stuff about all written about this one guy who they just call Rant. And then it turns out to be like a time travel story where he like goes back in time, and everybody thought that he like fucked his own mom to make himself, but it turns out he went back and like murdered the guy who was like who had just raped his mom who created him. It's like a crazy cool story.
Nice. That sounds
spoilers
right up my alley. But the trailer that you just gave me made me overhyped and underappreciating.
Yeah,
of it.
Survivor is like almost like somebody leaving like an Amish type situation and then becoming like a crazy mega church pastor kind of thing, but they also like become obsessed with like plastic surgery. It's pretty wild too. So he's like by the end of it, he's not even like a man anymore. He's like a crazy like rubber man, like, and then he fights his brother to death in like a big giant garbage yard full of porn where they're like hitting each other, like sword fighting with dildos.
This sounds amazing. This sounds amazing. Yeah. I need to
add that to the list. But let's get back on track.
These are books, they're not movies, but
hey, let's start a book club.
Yeah.
No, it takes me longer than a week to read a book. I don't think if I hunkered down. I don't think if I hunkered down and tried to just gonna get through
Palnuk
book.
books, you could do it in a Palnuk books are always like 200 pages max. They're not.
Was that like Goosebumps?
Basically,
yeah, it's like
Goosebumps for like
150,
yeah. And I could power slam those in a couple days.
Yeah. And I'm dyslexic, and I could read them in less than a week.
Well, the new podcast this winter, Palnuk Hour.
It's called Dyslexials.
That is a pretty good name for a book podcast, because like nobody on it needs to be dyslexic.
Because it sounds sexual.
It sounds funny.
Sex sells.
Sex sells. Sex. Look at our fucking numbers going up. I keep yelling sex into the microphone and we get 10 more people.
Hey, we were up to like 8 at one point, and then something happened and we lost a bunch, but
on
let's
what?
Keep going.
On Twitch?
I don't want to say what it was because then I'll embarrass whoever was the one that lost all the viewers.
Was it me?
No.
Do you mean on this particular show, or do you mean in general?
Yes. On this show.
What?
How did you guys
We've never had more than... Nobody's been watching.
It was up to 6 at one point. I know that much.
Oh.
I've been watching.
How did you guys feel when Bill Paxton had a role reversal and he became the one being filmed as opposed to the one doing the filming?
It was a horrible nightmare, and it made me feel real bad.
Yeah, it was one of those moments in the movie that again, it like weighed on you as a viewer to be like, we're watching this guy, we're supposed to be with him on his journey, and he basically killed this guy who wasn't really a bad guy. Like, he had a bad attitude, he hated his job.
He was a bit of a jerk.
Yeah, he was listen, he was a jerk, yes, he was a dick, yes, but he wasn't a bad guy. And even in the moment where he was offering Jake Gyllenhaal the opportunity to be a driver for him, or not even a driver, like in some ways a partner, he was sort of looking out for Jake Gyllenhaal, but at the same time, he was being exploitative. He was trying to basically eliminate his competition by absorbing it. But I don't think that anything he could have said, even if he offered him like 50% partnership of the company, Jake Gyllenhaal would have been like, no. Like, he could have offered him 99% of it and been like, and he still would have been like, I don't know why you're still here. Like, I want to go home and do some accounting because I know what I'm doing, and you can suck my ass. And I don't know. I felt like a lot of the other tertiary characters in this movie, outside of what's his name, Ahmed, or what's the guy's name that plays Rick?
I haven't called
Riz Ahmed.
Riz Ahmed. Yeah.
If I'm saying that correctly,
you definitely
Riz Ahmed and Jake Gyllenhaal are the two top tier performers in this movie, and a lot of the
Rene.
other.
Let's not forget Rene.
Listen, I think Rene Russo is fine, but What I'm saying is that there is not a single moment where I thought that Jake Gyllenhaal or Riz Ahmed were just chess pieces or pieces of meat for the complete devouring of the scene by Jake Gyllenhaal. I think that every scene that Jake Gyllenhaal was in where Riz Ahmed was in there, Riz Ahmed was there for a specific reason, and he could toss something back at Jake Gyllenhaal that would cause them to have an actual interaction. Whereas Rene Russo and Bill Paxton and a lot of the other characters, they just felt like chum being thrown into a pool for Jake Gyllenhaal to be like.
That's why I think that this movie was a full-on vehicle for Jake Gyllenhaal, honestly. And as I was watching it, I was wondering, like, what if has there been a movie where we get Jake Gyllenhaal and Joaquin Phoenix, and then put in like Sacha Baron Cohen, and put those three fucking crazy actors into...
it's probably some fucking weird Adam Sandler movie where he called in some favors.
No way. Adam Sandler is a different breed of actor. Like his group, nobody even touches Adam Sandler's ability to act, which is hidden by his ability to do comedy. His ability to act is actually pretty decent. Like, he's a pretty good actor. Hustle, pretty good. Uncut Gems.
God. I know this Jason's apology for Adam Sandler corner.
No, it's not. I am not apologizing for anything. I was just going to bring up Punch Drunk Love, which was his first real serious role. He's got acting chops. The problem is people don't pay millions of dollars for his dramatic acting. They pay millions of dollars for Herbie Halloween. It's fun for the family. It's fun for the perverts.
I feel like what you're ranting about is fine, but Jake Gyllenhaal is also not a person who will ask for $1 million to be in something. He'll do something if he likes it. So, like, if Adam Sandler wanted to do something that had Jake Gyllenhaal in it, if Jake Gyllenhaal saw some substance within that, he would come and do it.
That's fair.
I don't know if you ever saw the movie Okja. Jake Gyllenhaal's
in Okja, but that's the dude who made Parasite. Like, that's a pretty high pedigree.
Okay, fine. I don't know if you ever saw John Mulaney's Lunch Hour.
Yeah, I did see that. Also amazing.
Jake
but
Gyllenhaal's in
that's special on its own because John Mulaney wanted to make a throwback to the Electric Company and Square One.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, Jake Gyllenhaal didn't make $1 million off of doing that. He probably
made some good money.
No, he probably got no money.
Which
probably
leads
was just
me
like,
to my
give me a
next
percentage
point.
On the back end.
Adam Sandler only makes serious movies now because he gets that Netflix money. You know who is making millions of dollars to make serious movies, even though the bank is the comedies? Netflix, Adam Sandler, handshake emoji.
All right, I don't. Yeah.
Listen, I'm sorry I killed our podcast tonight.
I kind of wish I was in the control room in the newsroom, talking into the earpieces and telling the camera guys like, "Oh, camera one, do it up."
No, you don't. You don't. Have you ever done that before, Caylen? Caylen, have you ever done that before?
No.
It's the worst thing you'll ever. It's so stressful. You're gonna have a fucking ulcer within 24 hours.
I used to expedite at BP though. That's kind of similar.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not live.
Yeah,
TV
I gotta
where you
orchestrate
fuck up
the
a
dishes
camera
going
and then
out,
you lose your job immediately.
Right? Communicating with, I have to be the bridge.
Working the window at Boston Pizza and running a television channel, bro. I get that what you did was hard.
I'm not
saying it's hard. I'm just saying.
when I was in school, we did like a switchboard course, right? And it wasn't even live. It was just like live to the rest of the school, and we would do it. And if you fucked up even like minimally, the person would be like fully looking the wrong way. Like, because they have to turn and look to like another, and like if you don't get your timing right and you don't get the cameras right, like you just completely fuck it all up. And it takes like a lot of training. Like it looks easy, but it's super duper hard and stressful.
No, I was saying that to kind of get this back on track. I wish I was in the control room right now.
Well, you controlled me.
I see.
You controlled us back onto the tracks.
Where did we leave off?
Wherever. We don't do the shot-for-shot remake of the movie anymore. We do whatever we want.
I don't know.
We
Maybe
want.
This show is
through the
always
rest of our
growing,
notes.
always evolving. Check out the previous episodes. Check out this one.
A lot of good things coming down the pipe. I made a spreadsheet.
Yo, Video Production News, a professional news gathering service.
Yes.
What a title.
What a title. What a great title.
I want the news anchor to say it like that.
I
just
love
like that.
I couldn't
That's
help
how
but
it's
think
said, and that's how it should be said.
that
Yeah,
he
exactly,
wanted
yeah.
he got the ability to have his company be called anything he wanted, and he got it. It was so generic and so
It was
boring,
exactly what it was, though.
but it's exactly what it is though, and that's kind of like
Yeah.
the way his brain thinks, you know.
It's
There's
almost
yeah,
like an
things.
Great line.
infomercial. Yeah, it's like, what is it again? It's a news gathering, a professional news gathering service. It's like, it's literally like the garbage man. They come pick up your garbage is like what it sounds like. You know?
The professional garbage man who
Hey,
professionally.
did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one? The hay is the selling point, I think, for our little outfit that we have here. That we have here.
The another little comedy break when the anchor at the crime scene is saying that the cops want to talk to the guy that shot it, and then he's yelling at the camera, "It was me. Tell them to call me." And then Nina's like, "They can't hear you."
Yeah,
I know. Like, that was funny, but I'm also like, I pictured for a moment in my mind, I pictured like Robin Williams doing that, like in my head.
Yeah.
I was like, imagine Robin Williams doing that, because I feel like Robin Williams would like do something extra like after it, whereas Jake Gyllenhaal just like and like walks away.
Yeah.
You know, like Robin Williams did a ton of dark comedies before he passed away, and like I just
1 hour
that
photo.
kind of,
That wasn't a comedy, but
no.
That wasn't a dark comedy.
Yeah.
Insomnia. Fucking What Dreams May Come.
Death to
No,
Snitch.
I just think about
That's a dark
stuff like
comedy.
that sometimes, where I'm like, imagine like a comedic actor in that moment. Jake Gyllenhaal is funny. If you see Okja, he's one of the funniest. He wears knee-high socks and yelling crazy shit the whole time.
Do you want to know why I can't handle the idea of Okja? Because I know that fucking thing dies and it's horrible. I know that there's that
Maybe
moment.
it doesn't.
I'll tell you though, the movie is extremely like, you're gonna cry snot out of your nose
that's
and
what
eyes.
I'm saying. I don't. Like
the movie ends in such a beautiful way that then you cry snot out of your nose and eyes in a very nice way.
Look,
So
yeah,
you
happy
feel
tears.
I love
you
that
feel
director.
so happy at the end of it.
I'm gonna watch Okja.
What do you think was the thing that she wouldn't do at her apartment when they were alone?
Oh, I think they just had an awkward sexual experience.
Strap on.
I think they just had an awkward sex thing. I think it was just the whole thing was a disaster. Like, she tried to do a blowjob, and
He was probably like,
didn't
okay,
like it.
so now I'm going to take off my pants.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
He like took his pants off. Now I'm going to unbutton my shirt.
I
Even
think
though
that-
my pants are
I
already
think
off.
she
I'm
became
more
Jen-
sensitive about my nipples than my penis.
The way that I imagine Jan and Michael from The Office trying to have sex, I feel like that's what happened.
No, I
in
feel
that
like
apartment.
Michael's probably fine
No.
when it comes to sex.
There's no way.
I feel like Jan is the
When
one
he's
who's
comfortable, him and what's her face, why can't I remember? Can I remember her name?
You must be drunk and high.
fucked up. You know,
I'm
Holly.
neither of the Holly. Thank you. I said Maggie. I'm neither of those things. I just had a long day. I've had one beer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that I think that Jan is the one that like makes it
makes him freaked out,
terribly uncomfortable. Yeah.
but in like a switched way. But I think that she was probably wasted because she had to get drunk to sleep with Lou, right? So she's probably just come over here. Let's just try this. You know
I
what
didn't
I
even
mean?
think about
just
that.
come on over
Yeah.
here. Let's try it. Let's just try whatever. And he's just like Hannibal Lecter eyes.
I am absorbing your body.
I need to do blow.
How
do
did
a
he get his
blowjob to
eyes
me.
so wide?
I don't know.
Like,
he's got
He's
weird
got big
face,
old
man.
eyes, man.
Yeah. Look, you could look at half of his eyes in your little picture behind you.
Yeah, they're already
still
the size
giant.
of normal eyes, and they're half cut off. Yeah. No, Jake Gyllenhaal is one of those guys who's like unbelievably handsome, but if you saw him in real life, you'd be like, all your features are so big for your face.
Yeah. I thought your face would be smaller in real life.
Yeah.
Steven thought I was shorter before he met me.
Really?
I think that was the
I
first
guess I
thing you
know
said.
that-
Oh, you're taller than I thought, or something like that.
I guess I know that you're tall.
Yeah, I never met you, so I've never seen you in full height mode.
One of my
I
coworkers.
think your shoulders were wider than I thought they would be. Is the most thing that I was like, your shoulders are so wide.
I have
One of my-
broad shoulders.
One of my coworkers was like way shorter than I had anticipated, and I was like, because I'd only seen him on video.
Did you hear them knock at the door? You were expecting them up here. They were down here. Forget about
No,
Jason,
thank
you
God I
remember,
wasn't like that, and then we have to be like,
You remember Kazu from the Escape games?
yeah,
Jason? You ever
the
meet Kazu?
the main guy.
Yeah, I thought that he was like, because he would always be so close to his camera, so like I thought he was gonna be this like big guy,
He's
and
just
then
an
when
old
he showed
Japanese
up, he was just
man.
like this little tiny guy. And I was like, holy fuck! I thought you were so much bigger. I think I actually said that to him too, and he laughed.
I did want to bring up one more like scene that I thought was really good, and it's one of the first times that they peel out to go to like a crime, and Rick gets the GPS wrong, and they drive the wrong way for like 5 blocks, and Rick keeps saying it's only 5 blocks. The look that Lou gives Rick in this moment made me, somebody who's seen this movie a second time, go, ugh, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It's just some of
Cut right through him.
some of the acting choices that Jake Gyllenhaal made throughout this film. And I know we've said it 100 times at this point, but it's crazy that this movie moved me, and then I watched it again, and it was able to move me again.
This movie moved me, and then it moved me again.
5 out of 5.
I want to actually react to that, what you just said about him, because you can tell he realized he fucked up, and he didn't know how to say that he fucked up.
And they just met each other too, so it's not like he
Yeah.
doesn't know this history of violence sort of look.
But he needs the job, right? And he knows that he fucked up. And I don't know if you guys have ever felt like this before in a job you've had, where you realize you fucked something up and you try to figure out a way to solve it before the person that you're working with figured out that you fucked it up. But it is the most terrifying feeling you'll ever have. And I don't care what job it is. It can be anything. It can be like the shittiest job you've ever had where you could lose it that day. If you know you fucked up, there's this tiny little space between when they find out and when you realize, where you're like, everything's on fire, I'm gonna die, and you don't know what to do. And it's the scariest fucking feeling. Jason?
I'm married.
Oh, so that happens to you like 10 times a day? Is that
Not 10 times a day, but I know the feeling you're describing.
Oh, you forgot to bring home the lemons.
Caylen, it's not forgot to bring home the lemons.
I forgot the lemon at the lemon store. Whoopsie
Baby wanted
doody.
6.
It's so
not
much more
3,
specific.
6.
It's so much more specific and nuanced. To, I'm not going to get into it, right? I'm not going to sit here and like, I love being married, but there's like being in a relationship, there's being in a very long-term relationship, and there's being in a long-term relationship where you've been married for most of it. And it's closer to like you did something to fuck a friend over that in the moment doesn't seem like that big a deal, but what Steve's saying, that like this amount of time and it's almost like a fuse burning till you fucking have to like confront it.
Yeah,
they did it very well in this movie because Rick was genuinely afraid of Lou. I think we lost Steve for real.
No, he's here.
What?
Oh, you were frozen? You were frozen.
No, he's all good.
Now you're not.
Am I okay?
You're good. But that it's like a fuse burning down very rapidly, and then you have to encounter it. You have to confront it. And even when Rick, towards the end of the movie, gets balls, right? When he sort of has the bargaining chip.
What about more? Not now. We already closed the deal.
No, after that, when Lou finally threatens violence, or not even, He doesn't even
Oh, right.
threaten
Like,
direct violence.
Yeah, right.
He says, "I could hurt you. What if I hurt you? What if you were hurt?" And he's standing outside the car like, "Oh, this fucking guy's got me. He's got my number. He knows exactly what to say to make me do the thing." It's when he's trying to convince him to film the diner, where he's just called the police to come get these two criminals that he knows are criminals. You can see the guy have the police walk in. He's got a gun under the table. Like this shit's going down, and both of them know shit's going down. Because if you call police to to criminals who have this thing that they've done, they're going to retaliate in some way. Mm-hmm. And then another police car rolls up, and it's just and this scene, the series of scenes from the shootout in the diner to the chase. I guess this movie's a movie and not a film by my metric. It's definitely a film. I had that.
No, are there explosions?
There's sort of an explosion when the car crashes. There's a lot of sparks.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't think
this is another example of how your gauge of what
perfect.
A movie and a film is terrible.
100% great. Anyway, I had that moment that I was like, do I even bring this up because Steve's gonna dance on my grave? To the cars crashing, to fucking Lou being like, go over and film the dead guy. The dead guy who's alive shoots him, but he gets up and he looks right at Lou, who's also filming, and he kind of gives him the not worth it, and tries to flee the scene, but he's like limping. Mm-hmm. The police show up and fucking kill him immediately. Lou gets all of this, and instead of Lou, in any other movie, Lou is a criminal. You know, he's the bad guy he's
also a criminal in this movie.
Correct. But he's the bad guy, I guess is a better way to put it, in any other movie, where he's doing these things to these people, but everything that he does, he gets out on top. You know, he moves forward, and this is the
only movie
climax,
that I've ever watched where there's no bad guy.
Yeah. This final great...
Oh, wait, sorry. It's him. He's the bad guy.
But
we're watching the bad guy.
This great climax happens, and he walks away unscathed, and in fact, his career is propelled monumentally.
The next scene was so intimate, so sexually charged when he brings that footage to Nina.
She actually wanted him by that point.
It's vile.
I want you to give it to me.
Disgusting. I hate it.
You didn't like that?
I hate it. I hate it. It's so gross. They're both such disgusting people. They both deserve to leave the station and get hit by a fucking 18-wheeler in a nice SUV, and then someone else show up and film the fuck out of it. They're so gross. They're such gross people, both.
They're those characters in a dark comedy, like in The Boys, for instance, when the ginger lady gets to become the leader of Vought, and then there's that I don't know if he's a politician or he's trying to investigate Vought, but then everybody leaves the room and she pulls out a giant dildo because he wants to get pegged.
Right, yeah. I was like, what are you talking about?
I was gonna get to it. You know that.
But also, they're
dynamic.
Both bad. They're both gross, bad people who you kind of feel bad for, but at the same time, not bad enough to be like, I want to see these people win.
No.
That's the main thing about this movie is I really wish, I don't wish, but I think if the movie ended with him leaving, being on top of his fucking hill, and he just got into a horrible car accident and he didn't put his seatbelt on or something, he got tossed out of his windshield and was mangled on the pavement and someone came up and filmed him, that would be great. I would love that.
Typically his character will die just not only for getting comeuppance, but so you can't literally leave it open-ended for a sequel for one of these one-off movies, right? Films.
Yeah. Jake Gyllenhaal's back. They do a legacy sequel, it's 40 years from now.
Yeah, at the 20-year Nightcrawler.
He's in charge of he's in charge of a whole internet news broadcasting station
that takes topples Fox News and CNN. I feel like it's just a weird anomaly film that I really enjoyed. I also, Caylen, did you make note of them saying the movie title? Because I don't know if they said the word.
They didn't get the exact movie
Nightcrawler.
title. They basically had it.
45,
I've been
11?
nightcrawling since I got 45 minutes 8 seconds.
Yeah, we actually got it right at the same time this
Bill
time.
Paxton says it right.
Yeah.
I clapped.
I've been night crawling.
I've been night crawling since 1969.
I've been night crawling since Twister.
I'm adding a new segment to my segment.
I love it.
The MPAA number. This movie was 49,147 on the MPAA list.
Steve, were you in the chat the night me and Caylen were talking about the MPAA meetings and numbers and stuff? Oh, my headset's gonna die. So Caylen, continue to talk.
I will continue to talk.
I don't think I was.
So I was. I've been. I watched movies, and lately I've been watching them in full to the end. Partially because of like Marvel having end credits. Like, ooh, I wonder if this has a. There's been some movies where you don't expect it and they have an end credit, and so I've been doing it partly because of that, but then also partly out of respect, I guess you could say. And one of the things that comes up, there's a symbol, and then there's a number.
I'm sorry, out of respect, as in you're reading every credit in the credits?
Almost. Like, they go pretty quick, but I read...
Caylen, are you reading all of the names? Are you being like, whoa, this guy's name's Dick Dickerson? Holy
and I'm
shit.
back. I came back to, and his name is Dick Dickerson.
But yes, that's exactly it.
All right. Well, I mean, there was a guy in Halloween 2 whose name was Dick Warlock, so it was kind of worth reading the
Did you
credits
tell him the story about how we wanted to do the first MPAA film just to see what it looks like?
We were getting to it, but
I
kept interrupting.
Yeah, jokes, tangents, riffs.
I kept cucking him.
You had that many jokes?
Yeah, I'm a cuck warlock.
A cucklock? Hello, everybody, and welcome to
Cucklock
Cucklock.
and Smoking Barrels. That's what they call me downtown.
Caylen, I want you to be observant of the current time.
I am observant, and
all right, Caylen, go ahead. I'm sorry. Tell the rest of the story about how you love watching credits.
Movies are numbered. I just found out, which when thinking about it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. But they're numbered, and I wrote down the one that's number one, like the first one that MPAA.
It's specifically though, like the rated movies that are rated. Yeah, there's a separate one for Canada. Steve fell asleep, so he didn't even hear us. He's very bored by this. But I would like to watch MPAA movie number one. It's probably garbage. It's probably horrible. It's from the 1930s.
Probably. Don't come at things from a negative. Like
it's probably amazing, and it probably is not boring.
No, don't hype yourself up either. No, that's just as bad.
Steve's asleep.
But I would like to watch the first one, and I would like to watch it to the end of the credits and see that MPAA come up just one, or maybe it's like 0001 or something like that.
Yeah, and then the president of the MP quadruple A comes up and he goes, "I will return with the next crystal." And
then Chucky comes up and he says, "Here am I." I saw a commercial for Chucky, the TV show, and he was doing that, and I fucking flipped.
I skimmed through Chucky 3 a little bit the other day, and Jason, when do you think about doing the 3s? In March or something, or?
Let's just finish the review for this.
Right. Birthday, Michael, so you're gonna hate it.
The Lou's business is booming. He's a success, and we end with him giving a speech to some new hires, and them spreading out to cover the Los Angeles area for different news coverage stories.
Yeah, he becomes the new Bill Paxton, and guess what? He doesn't pay anybody. Remember, he's like, "You're all interns." Like he says, every single one of you are interns. That's so shitty. What a shitty man.
He just has the same look, just a slightly more slicked back hairstyle, and like basically the same clothes, but with logos. Also, he says, "I wouldn't ask you to do anything I wouldn't do." Do you know who else used to say that to their employees?
Walt
Vincent
Disney.
McMahon.
Oh, Optimus Primal.
We all said different people, but they all are the same accurate answer.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm ready to do my final thoughts if you guys are.
You know what, Jason? Why don't you tell us your final thoughts?
I'm gonna read you all my final thoughts. I'm gonna read you my 1 year ago final thoughts and my today final thoughts and see how they compare and contrast.
And then your adjusted final thoughts after talking to us.
Yes.
3 final thoughts.
3 final thoughts. Wow, fantastic.
Can I just say that Rick was shot multiple times, both by bullets and a camera.
Ooh.
We're watching movies over here.
Wow. That's the new name of the podcast, in fact. When we
Yeah,
get
I
to
shot
episode
3
6
times, twice with a camera and once with a bullet.
We're watching movies over here. There's an alternate universe where this podcast is called We're Watching Movies Over
Watching
Here.
movies over here. And we all talk like this the whole
We
time.
talk
Holy
like this. We're
moly,
from
Nightcrawler
fucking Queens.
was
We
freaking
fucking- this
bananas.
fucking guy
I'm walking
here.
over
I'm
here.
walking here.
Did you know that entire news channel was full of predators? And guess what? He was a predator too.
Do you know what it-
Everyone's
do you know what it
predators
also
in
was
Los
full of?
Angeles.
It was full of Goombas who are eating gabagool.
You know what? The movie's
Johnny
called
and
Nightcrawler,
Gabagool.
but he was a Nightcrawler all along. He was clipping fences and stealing copper wires since the beginning of time.
Crawling at night.
Jesus Christ.
All right,
You can't be
so- all right,
racist
Jason,
against
go ahead.
Italian people, though. I've tried. Wow,
Bada
fantastic.
bing, bada boom, ba. Sorry.
Wow, fantastic performance from Jake Gyllenhaal. And a really good story overall. It's a dark film, both literally and thematically. It happens at night, which adds a great backdrop for the subject matter. Lou, Gyllenhaal, is a really bizarre, psychotic character, and he kills the role. He puts on peculiar vocal cadence and makes you believe what he's saying, but also see right through to its intensity and darkness. I was trying hard back then. Now I'm like, I fucking whatever. It's a good movie. Watch it yourself, you fucking dummy. Back then I was like, I like the relationship between him and his employee. The score is upbeat and almost a wrong choice, but it contrasts nicely, so it works. Also I thought his name was Ned for some reason.
I like that you
Lou?
agreed with what I said in the whole review just then. That was good.
Like a year ago. I thought his name was
Like
Ned.
when you agree with
so,
me, yeah.
like, is Ned or Lou a hero? Almost definitely not. But you have to watch and decide for yourself, I guess. A gripe I have is that the ending could have been the halfway point of a 3-hour film or a setup to a sequel. But I think that's the point. I don't know what I meant by that. I went into this film thinking it was going to be a lot more gruesome and more thriller, but it's a good character study more than anything. 4 out of 5. I would absolutely watch a sequel, even if it isn't necessary. Fast forward to 2022, 1 calendar year later, and I said, overall, I had a great time watching it again. I would say my previous review still stands. I watched this so close to the last viewing that nothing changed outside of knowing what happens at all the main beats. The story is solid, the acting is tight, and it's a small-scale story with huge implications. 4 out of 5. Go check out the acting alone, more specifically, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Do you still think that you want to see a sequel, or that this is a halfway point between a
No,
longer
because
movie?
I traditionally hate long movies, and this movie's already fucking 2 hours long.
Like 2 hours.
So, like,
Yeah.
what was I? What? I would watch a sequel to this still. Even if it's like if it was made now, like, and it takes place 6 years later. I want to see what he's done to this company because what we're saying.
I feel like
earlier,
the opening of a sequel to this movie should be him getting out of a van to go film something. Like he's with one other rookie, and then he just gets fucking rifle butted by one of the drug lords from the first movie, and just like, and then like the whole movie is him just being.
No, it's the security guard. The security guard finally comes after him.
I feel like that doesn't have anything to do with the first movie, but okay.
But overall,
No, he gets fucking taken by the drug lords.
Overall,
The
4
drug
to 5.
lords.
You're dead.
But if I wanted to give this one of your guys' style ratings, I give this movie a driving down the main drag of Compton, filming all of the horrible things, but every time I film a horrible thing, I get more accolades.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Jesus Christ. That's too real. I don't like that. That feels like too much like real life, though.
I don't.
That's the point.
That's the point.
Cha-ching. Also, that's my new catchphrase.
Cha-ching.
With the pause.
I like that. Yeah, I'll take it.
I give this movie redeeming yourself, even though you don't deserve it.
Ooh, that's a good one.
He doesn't. And also, he didn't. He did not redeem himself. There's no point where he redeemed himself.
Everything he did was worse than the last.
If anything, he's worse. Yeah, he's paying more people $0.
Yeah, it looks like some fucking Disneyland shit. Like, it looks like the music and the atmosphere. I completely missed the point where most of this movie actually happens in the daytime. Also, I was just hyper fixated on like
it's mostly him watering his plant.
Yeah, like at 7 o'clock in the morning. I think
like almost every single scene that takes place during the day is inside his apartment, which I assume is like when he's about to go to sleep. Like he's watching the morning news as he's going to bed.
At the end of
yeah, and the interview when he interviews Rick.
And the bike,
which could have been at like 5 p.m. Like he could have gone to bed and then gotten up at 4:30 and
that's
true. The interview.
Meet me after work.
About that, it's like, oh, I slept till 5 or something like that, and so
my body's all off. Yeah.
All right, back to you, Caylen.
Well, let me give it back to Steven to continue with his final thoughts.
And for Jason, I'm Jason.
No, not yet.
The movie Californication was difficult to watch for several.
Oh, wait. The movie James Dean was good.
The movie
for a TV movie
had a lot of awesome.
I was reading the last week's one.
When
movie
Magneto called the fire guy a god among ants, I really felt that.
I was trying to make a funny joke that would run right into the other one, but it's been interviewed by both of you twice now. So you guys you have any more questions about my joke? No? Okay. The movie Nightcrawler is a very good example of a movie that is able to entice an audience into feeling something positive for a completely reprehensible and vile human being. I don't think it needs to be said that Jake Gyllenhaal's performance is pretty much perfect. He disappears into the role to the point that you forget you aren't watching a real person, even if that person makes you feel uncomfortable and pretty gross. The cinematography, the plot, and the performances are all strong, if not for a few weak links sprinkled throughout. I will say that along with Jake Gyllenhaal, Riz Ahmed is perfect. He feels true and real, and I understand his dilemma without needing any further explanation. He also is believable as an idiot in the best possible way. I think that a lot of the other characters felt real at times, but also could be seemed like chess pieces that are simply there to have Jake Gyllenhaal's laser beam performance destroy them with his amazing pieces of character reflection, which is not a bad thing either. I think that the journey of the character is fairly clear from beginning to end, and his station as a bad guy is apparent from the first scene. He's a liar, a con, a criminal, all these things that he only becomes better at throughout the movie. From the moment you meet him, you learn that he cannot be trusted, something that is underlined over and over again. We see him go from a person who attempts to survive to a person who is willing to break the law to live. Not survive, but live. His life becomes about making the best possible product. It grows strong with every passing moment throughout. From moving a few photos on a fridge to allowing his assistant to be killed on camera, it's all for the shot. I keep waiting for him to have a serious downfall to shut up the jovial, triumphant score that constantly follows him around, but this downfall never happens. He is victorious in the end, and we all lose. Overall, I think it's a very good movie that I don't really enjoy watching because of how much it gives me the heebie-jeebies. I give this movie an extravagant and well-executed car crash that you can't look away from.
Oh, nice. Damn, that's a good one. Shit. Well, I'm going to keep mine short and sweet. This was a success story of an anti-hero with ambition and determination. For everything that we don't like about this person, he had a lot of qualities that were admirable. For the movie itself, as you guys mentioned, strong performance, great production. I enjoyed it, of course. I give this movie a do what you're good at and love to do.
I like that. You didn't have to have it so short, you know. You could have had it a little longer, you know.
Nope.
I'm sorry I made mine so long again.
That's fine. Mine was super long too. I read a review from a year ago.
It's all good. We covered all the bases. And for that, I have to say, for Jason and Steven, I'm Caylen.
And for Caylen and Steven, I'm Jason.
For Jason, for Caylen, I am Steven.
And we just got to ask you one thing.
What?
Hey, did you see this one?
Hey. 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 Ha. 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 Mama. Mama. Mom. Mom. Did you see this one?
Ugh. Hey, whoa, it's me. I'm in the other Italian universe saying, whoa, check this movie out.
And hey, thanks for watching. You can find us on all social media at Hey Did You See This One? Most places. You can find us on Instagram. Hey Did You See This One? You can find us at Hey Did You See This One on Twitch? You can find us at Hey Did You See This One over on Fitch? And you can find us over on Did You See This One on Shits?
Shameless plugs. All of the socials.
There's so much blood.
Twitch,
oh my god. There's so much blood.
I creamed in my jeans once.